What up, STF? If you've been losing weight and then all of a sudden it just stops, the scale won't move, your body looks the same, and you're sitting there thinking, what the hell am I doing wrong? This video is for you, because that plateau phase is where most people either quit or they do something stupid out of panic, and both of those keep you stuck. I'm gonna walk you through exactly why it happens, what it feels like, what was going on with one of my clients when it happened to him, and exactly how we fixed it in a way that didn't require starving, doing 2 hours of cardio, or living like a robot. And I want you to listen closely, because this is not just about calories, it's about psychology, consistency, and knowing what feedback actually matters, because when the scale stops moving, most people start guessing, and guessing is how you burn months for absolutely no reason. First, let's talk about how it feels, because if you're in a plateau, you're not just annoyed, you're usually borderline pissed. At the beginning of a cut, you feel in control. You see progress, your clothes start to fit better, your face looks leaner, you wake up and you feel lighter, and every week you get that little reward from the scale moving. It feels like proof. It feels like the plan is working. You start thinking, maybe I finally found something I could stick to. And then one week the scale doesn't move, and you tell yourself, probably just water weight, so you stay calm. And the next week it still doesn't move. Now you start doing the mental math. Did I mess up? Am I accidentally overeating? Do I need more cardio? Do I need to cut carbs? You start checking yourself in the mirror more often. You start weighing yourself more often. You start looking for any sign that things are still changing. And if you don't see that sign, it starts to feel personal. Like you're putting in effort and your body is just refusing to cooperate. That's when people start doing aggressive stuff. They start skipping meals or cutting calories too hard. They start adding cardio every single day and trying to punish themselves into progress. What that usually does is burn you out and make you binge or make you feel miserable, and eventually you'll quit. The plateau is not just a physical wall, it's a mental wall, and it makes you question yourself. It makes you question the plan. It makes you question whether you can actually do this long term. This is exactly what happened with my client. He started strong. He was locked in. He was hitting his protein. He was training consistently, doing his cardio. In the first part, it was almost too easy because momentum, it's motivating, and he was dropping weight and he was happy. He felt like he had control for the first time in a long time. His confidence started to come back. He started getting compliments and he started feeling really proud of himself. And then he hit that wall. The scale stopped moving. Same weight over and over, and you could feel his energy shift. He started getting frustrated. He started questioning everything. He started thinking he needed to do more. He started thinking he wasn't working hard enough. And what I had to explain to him was this: a plateau doesn't automatically mean the plan stopped working. A plateau means we need to diagnose what kind of plateau it is, because there are different reasons weight loss stalls. And if you don't know which one you're dealing with, you will do the wrong fix. So let me break down the types of plateaus for you, because this is where most people get it wrong. The first type is a fake plateau. This is when fat loss is still happening, but the scale is not showing it, either because of water, stress, sodium, inflammation, digestion, or just normal fluctuation. You can be in a deficit and still see the same scale weight for a week or even two, especially if you're training hard. Lifting weights causes inflammation. More soreness is going to mean more water retention. Higher stress, water retention. Poor sleep, water retention. A higher sodium meal plan means more water retention. You weigh in after a day where you ate later than usual, or you have more food volume sitting in your body, the scale goes up. But none of that is actually fat, it's just body weight. This is why I tell people the scale is data, but it's not the whole truth. The scale is one measurement. You need other feedback: your waist measurement, your photos, how your clothes fit, your strength in the gym, your hunger, your energy. If those things are improving and the scale is flat for a week, don't panic. You stay consistent and you let the trend show itself. The second type of plateau is a tracking plateau. This is the most common one. This is when you think you are in a deficit, but you're not. Not because you're lying, but because you are miscounting. You forget to add the sauces, the oils, snacks, drinks, little bites, weekends, and the random stuff that doesn't feel like it counts. People are not bad people. They're just human. A tablespoon of olive oil is over 100 calories. A couple handfuls of trail mix is a few hundred calories. A coffee with creamer and syrup can be a few hundred calories. A weekend where you are mostly good can erase 5 days of progress. This is why plateaus often happen after the initial drop. At the start, you reduce calories a lot without even realizing. You cut junk, you eat cleaner, you stop snacking. That alone creates a deficit. Then you get comfortable and you start adding things back in. A little here, a little there, and you don't notice because the meals still look healthy, but the deficit, it's gone, it disappears. That's a tracking plateau. Now, the third type is an adaptation plateau. This is when you actually were in a deficit. You lost the weight, and now your body requires fewer calories because you are lighter and your daily movement subconsciously drops. This is where people don't realize how sneaky the body actually is. When you diet, you don't just burn fewer calories because you weigh less, you also move less without even noticing. You sit more, you fidget less, you take the elevator instead of stairs, you take fewer steps, you stop doing random movements. That is called non-exercise activity thermogenesis, and it matters a lot. So even if your calories are the same, your expenditure drops and the deficit shrinks and progress is going to stall. That's a real plateau. Not because your metabolism is broken, but because your body is adapting to consume conserve energy. It's normal, it's expected, and it's part of the process. So what did I do with my client? Some of you may be asking right now. The first thing I did was slow him down mentally, because when someone hits a plateau, their instinct is to do something extreme. I told him we're not going to guess. We're going to run a short diagnostic. 2 weeks, clean data, no emotional decisions. Because if you change 5 variables at once, you'll never know what actually fixed it. You'll just get lucky or get stuck again. So step 1 was controlling the inputs. We made his weekdays and weekends consistent. We made his tracking honest and boring. We tightened up the things that people ignore: oils, sauces, snacks, drinks. We made sure protein was consistent and made sure he wasn't having healthy meals that were still high calorie because of toppings and extra bullshit. This alone fixes a huge percentage of plateaus. Then we looked at his weigh-ins properly. Not 1 day, not 2 days, weekly averages. Same time, same conditions. Morning, after the bathroom, before food. We tracked his average across a week and compared it to the prior week. And here's what happened. The scale was flat for a while, but his waist was down slightly and his pictures looked a little tighter. That told me it was likely a fake plateau mixed with some tracking inconsistency. So instead of slashing calories, we stayed consistent for another week with cleaner tracking. And then the scale started dropping again. This is the part most people miss. They panic way too early and never give the plan enough time to actually show results. But even with that, there came a point where progress slowed again. And this time, the data was clear. Weight was flat, waist was flat, photos were flat, his energy was dropping, hunger was higher. That told me we were dealing with a real plateau. Either adaptation or the deficit was too small. So we made 1 clean change, a small calorie adjustment or a step adjustment, not both, because we want to know what worked. Here's the exact approach I used, and you can apply it too. First, you set your calories and protein and you keep them consistent. Protein stays high because it protects muscle and keeps you full. For most men, 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of body weight is safe target. If you are 180 pounds, you aim for 180 grams of protein rough. Then you set total calories based on a reasonable deficit, not a crash diet. Usually 300 to 500 calories below maintenance. That's enough to lose fat without wrecking your training. Then you set a minimum step goal. This is critical because steps are the easiest lever to pull without making your life miserable. For my client, we had a step goal that was 10,000 steps a day. Consistent across the week. Not perfect, but consistent. And we had training scheduled that was consistent, lifting a few times a week. Cardio is not used as punishment, but it's used as a tool. Now, if weight loss stalls for 10 to 14 days and you have been consistent, don't panic. You choose one of two options. Option 1 is reduce calories slightly, usually by 100 to 200 calories, not 1,000, nothing insane. Option 2 is either increase movement slightly, usually by adding 1,500 to 3,000 steps per day. That's it. A 20 or 30 minute walk. That small change can restart progress without making you feel like you are starving. You do one change and you run it for 10 to 14 days and you observe the trend. If it works, amazing. If not, you make another small change. This is how you diet intelligently instead of emotionally. Now let's talk about why your weekends are probably the real problem, because this is where most people lose the plot. You could be locked in Monday through Friday. You can hate your calories, hit your protein, train, do cardio, and still not lose weight if the weekend turns into a free-for-all. And a lot of people don't even realize it's happening because they tell themselves they deserve it, or they worked hard, or they were good all week. Math is brutal. If you are in a 400 calorie deficit 5 days a week, that's 2,000 calories of deficit. If you overeat 1,000 calories on Saturday and another 1,000 on Sunday, you are back at 0. You did all of that work for nothing. And then you wake up Monday heavier and you feel like you failed. It's not failure, it's math. So part of fixing a plateau is controlling the weekends, not by being miserable, but by being structured. You can still eat out and you can still have a social life, but you have to stop treating weekends like a break from your identity. This is exactly what my client needed. He was consistent during the week, then the weekend he was looser. He wasn't trying to sabotage himself, he just wasn't structured. So we built weekend rules. Protein stays consistent, steps stay consistent, one planned meal out, not 2 days of chaos. If you wanted a bigger dinner, we adjusted earlier meals. If you wanted dessert, cool, but we didn't stack dessert, less drinks, less snacks, less late night eating. We made it deliberate. And once weekends were structured, progress finally restarted. Another thing we fixed was expectations. A lot of people think weight loss should be linear. It's not. You can lose fat and still see the scale stall. You can lose fat and still see the scale go up. The scale is sensitive to water, sodium, stress, sleep, hormones, and digestion. So if you are weighing yourself and emotionally reacting to every number, you will burn yourself out. That's why I like weekly averages. It removes noise. It forces you to focus on trends, not feelings. The goal is not daily validation. The goal is long-term results. Now let's talk about a part nobody wants to hear. Sometimes you hit a plateau because you have been dieting way too long without a break. Your training performance drops, your recovery drops, your hunger increases, your mood is gonna get worse, you start thinking about food all day, every day. That's not you being weak, it's just biology. So sometimes the fix is it's not more deficit. The fix is a short maintenance phase, a recomp, a diet break, not a binge. Maintenance, you bring calories up to maintenance for 1 or 2 weeks, keep protein protein high, keep training consistently, keep steps consistent, and let your body stabilize. Stress is gonna drop, water is gonna drop, performance is gonna improve. And when you go back into a deficit, your body will respond much better. This is an advanced tool, but it matters if you've been cutting for a long period of time, months and months on end. This was part of my client's story too. There was a point where pushing harder would have backfired. So instead of digging the hole deeper, we stabilized. Then we pushed again. And because we did it intelligently, he didn't rebound. He didn't yo-yo. He didn't lose his mind. He just kept progressing. Here's what I want you to take away from this video. A plateau is not a reason to quit. It's proof. It's not proof you're broken. It's just feedback. It means something needs to be adjusted, but the adjustment should be small and deliberate, not emotional and extreme. You tighten up tracking, you control your weekends, you use weekly averages, and you adjust calories or steps slightly. And if you have been dieting too long, you consider a short maintenance phase. That's it. That is the whole entire game. And if you're sitting there right now thinking you've tried everything, all of that I just mentioned, I want you to be honest with yourself. Just be honest. Have you actually been consistent for 14 days, including weekends, including oils and snacks, including drinks with the same calories, the same protein, and the same step goal? Or have you been mostly consistent and then reacting to the scale with random change? Because mostly consistent, not consistent. And random changes create random results. So if you want a clear action plan, here it is. For the next 14 days, set your calories to 300 to 500 calories below maintenance. Set protein around 1 gram per pound of body weight. Set a step goal you can actually hit. Lift 3 to 5 times per week. Track honestly and weigh daily for the purpose of weekly averages, not daily emotion. If after 14 days the weekly average has not moved and your waist and photos haven't changed at all, reduce calories by 100 to 200 or just add 2,000 steps, not both, and run it again. That's how you break through the wall without losing your mind. If you want help doing this with someone watching your blind spots, that is literally what a coach is for. Because the truth is, most plateaus, not mysterious. They're just hard to see when you're inside your own head. You don't need more motivation. You just need a better system with some accountability. And if you want that, you know where to find me.